What's going on YouTube? Thanks for tuning into the channel. Your boy Devin Coates. 48 days, 48 laws, day 45. Pick up a copy in the link in the description below. Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Judgment. Everybody understands the need for change in the abstract, but on the day-to-day level, people are creatures of habit. Too much innovation is traumatic and will lead to revolt. If you are new to a position of power or an outsider trying to build a power base, make a show of respecting the old way of doing things. If change is necessary, make it feel like a gentle improvement on the past. So just starting off, the first story was a transgression. So in past law, King Henry VIII, he's the one that's trying to divorce his wife, Catherine Aragon, because she can't bear him sons, and then breaks off with the Roman Catholic Church. Then he appoints Thomas Cromwell, somebody who supported him, to a position where he basically had a lot of power. Like, he was almost as powerful as the king. And his whole goal after the break with the Roman Catholic Church was to create a Protestant England. And this was a transgression because he immediately tries to do this in a very, very short amount of time, basically claiming all of the Catholics are heretics, like closing down a lot of the Catholic Church, and then charging a high tax to change everything. And this led to like literal problems, like the people that the Catholic Church were bringing in. Now these beggars are in the middle of the streets now, and also the monks that were Catholic are now in the middle of the streets. But it also had a psychological effect, even for the people that were oppressed, or the people that were neutral that were actually oppressed but didn't really see it. Everybody has their ties to the past. Humans are a creature of habit, and breaking that, it opens a void. And basically what this did was, in a short amount of time, Thomas Cromwell is starting to get a lot of pushback. Revolts are starting to show, and King Henry VIII is kind of getting a little bit nervous, and he's thinking like, all I really wanted was a divorce, and this guy was supporting me, so I put him up. I wasn't really trying to do all these reforms. So he starts trying to reform everything back. Then after that happens, Cromwell kind of messes up again, because he is trying to find King Henry another wife, because his wife, one of his newer wives, had just died. So what he does is he finds, I think they were from Spain, no, a German princess, and basically he has a painter draw her in a very flattering light, shows it to King Henry VIII. He loves her. Qualities about her is that, number one, she was a Protestant. So this is another like little secret ploy of Cromwell to bring her in. She comes in, and she actually didn't look like the picture, and King Henry gets real pissed, and basically he gets arrested as a Protestant heretic and gets sentenced to death. So he dies. Transgression. He tried to reform things too much, and it created a huge backlash, even though about a century later England does become a Protestant nation. So it could have happened. He tried to make it happen too fast. People are not ready for the change, and psychologically, even if it's a bad thing, it kind of messes them up. It's even like a drug addict. A lot of times, they know what they're doing is bad in the abstract, but it's just hard breaking that habit, because that is what they're familiar with and comfortable with. So Mao Zedong is the person who is in the next story, and it's actually an observance of the law. And basically, he's trying to push communism as the new way in the early 1900s, around 1920. And his technique was actually to tie back with past figures and the different battles that they fought. So Zhuge Liang, he was actually the person that worked on the hearts and minds of others in that law 43. He's that guy. So he's a huge figure in China in their history, and he tries to kind of associate himself with that. In the same battles he was fighting, Mao was trying to fight. And he basically constantly, every time he had a battle, or a pushback from another competing force, what he would do is try to associate himself with the past, and even also create the Confucius current way at that time, and put them in with the enemies of the past, and that he was with the good side. So that was his whole technique. And then obviously we know China is a communist nation today, so obviously he succeeded. And the way he really did was that he kept using the past and tradition, because that is very, very big in China, even definitely more than America, is like tradition and the family and respect and things like that. It has a way longer history. And basically he used that history and that tradition to create a power base for himself to spread his mission. And using the past in that way, it didn't make people feel like the change was as big as it was. It was almost like they were going back to an old glory time that they weren't experiencing in the present moment. And the whole real keys to power is basically what I was saying. It's like humans do not like change that much, because it creates a void, it creates a vacuum. They don't have something to glom onto that they're familiar with. It's like you're stripping them away. Even it's like the girl that's in an abusive relationship. She's comfortable and familiar with this person, so she will take the pain and the whippings and the lashings, even though it is logically not good, because that's what's familiar, and that's what as humans we like to cling to. And when you try to change things too quickly, it basically puts people in an insecure and anxious position where they're very worried about the future, because they don't know what's happening there. The only real reversal to this was that obviously the past, and this kind of went with other things, like even with the mirror effect, if the past is something terrible, you do not want to associate with that past. You would want to create something kind of new, but you would probably want to go back to even prior to the conflict. You want to bring it back to that time. So the past is pretty much always a good idea, but if the immediate past is something that was very turbulent and like a terrible time, then obviously you don't want to associate with that, because that's going to give a negative outlook of whatever you're trying to push. So that's really it for this law. We're getting close to the end. I think I only have about 30 more pages in the book. If you guys are following me, if you want to pick this up, link in the description below. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, it's your boy D Coach. Peace.